Howdy everybody, it's Andy Nolch here with Knowledge Report number 21, and this one is a review of Avatar, which is the spiritual group, like the self-help group. It's kind of like Scientology in that it's you can say it's not a religion, like you can argue that it's just a group of people practicing something and say that it's not a religion. But then again, you can say the same thing when it comes to Christians or whatever. It's just a group of people that practice something or believe in something. But if you ask Avatar people, they don't say it's a religion. But I mean, I would say, yeah, it's kind of like a religion because it's like a way of life, and you become, if you're into it, Avatar, you can become like dedicated to it and stuff like that. How Avatar started was that it was started by a former Scientologist, and he used to have a mission. And I think when the church went bad, I don't know all the details, but it seems like he was one of the mission people who left Scientology, which a lot of successful mission holders do at the time, because the church was requiring them to pay heaps of money and follow ridiculous rules. And actually, RTC was forcing them to do out tech, because at that time RTC was dishing out tech. They were squirreling. And with GAT1, right, with the release of GAT1, David Miscavige admitted that RTC and the church was actually delivering out tech, and said that it's all been corrected. Then with GAT2, he admitted that for the past 25 years, RTC has been doing out tech, and even their correction. He didn't say this in his GAT2 speech. He didn't say it directly, because then that would put everyone's blame onto him. But he said that, yes, the church has been delivering out tech. So this is why it's like, I don't know how you can trust the church, because it's just like they'll say to you, yeah, we're giving you standard tech, yet they're not giving you standard tech. And then they made a correction with GAT1, but the correction was wrong, and it actually made the tech worse. It was crazy. It was just squirreling. Anyway, so RTC since the beginning, and only now does it seem like RTC might actually, with GAT2, have actually started to do stuff that's good tech-wise. But when RTC took over Scientology in 1982, when Hubbard left, they seem to be instituting just out tech, and they admit to it. I just want to make clear, because if anyone's listening to this who's a church member, and they're saying, "Oh, Andy, you're making things up. What do you mean RTC is squirreling?" With GAT1, with the release of GAT1 and with the release of GAT2, it is David Miscavige directly saying, hey, the church was wrong. The church was delivering squirrel tech. Okay? He was saying that. Anyway. So the mission holders didn't like that. Right? They didn't want to have to pay these ridiculous amounts of licensing fees to deliver Scientology, and also to be delivering this bullshit RTC stuff that the mission holders knew was not proper tech. Anyway, so it seems like the person who started Avatar, which is called Harry Palmer, he left. He left the Church of Scientology, and I think he wanted to become an indie org, basically. Like, he wanted to still do Scientology, right? But not be involved with the church. But of course, the church sued his pants off, and apparently then he started Avatar, and then he made no reference to Scientology, anything. Otherwise, he would get sued. So he took away all the Scientology references, any word like to do with Scientology or whatever. Like, as in, like when you read the Avatar material, he might be talking about something, and you can tell he's sort of referring to Scientology, but he won't say L. Ron Hubbard or Scientology, because he just doesn't want to get sued or whatever. And why bring up a topic that has a pretty bad name? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Scientology's got a bad reputation, and you want to start some new self-help group, you might as well just not even mention Scientology at all. Anyway, but I'm not saying Avatar and Scientology are the same thing. Avatar definitely is like a squirrel group, in that, like, it does Scientology, it does a bit of Scientology, but it's just different, and it's not even the same thing. Like, it's totally different. Like, well, it's totally sort of changed and stuff. Like, it's not like you can go there and do grade 2, but like a weird version, or do OT5, but like a weird version. It's like a bunch of courses that clearly have been inspired by someone who's done Scientology, and it's got little bits of information, like, for example, in Avatar it talks about how you make a primary, which is kind of like making a postulate in Scientology. But there's just, it's quite different. And so I tried it because I want to do anything where I can get case gain, and I want to learn a lot, and I want to understand as much as possible about the world. And because they had a simple beginner's course, basically what they do is they kind of have like a touring Div 6 where they just tour around the country, and they don't have their own buildings or anything. They just tour around. It's kind of interesting idea. It's an interesting way you could do Div 6 where you just tour it around, and you advertise, I guess, you're having a weekend seminar or whatever, and you do a bunch of, life improvement courses over the weekend or whatever, and then you move to the next town or whatever, and you tour around. But then they do have headquarters in like America, and that's where people go to do the bigger, chunkier courses. And it's kind of similar because it's in Florida, actually. So that's another example where you see how it's kind of inspired by Scientology. You know what I mean? Like, he obviously chose Florida to set up their base or whatever. It's kind of similar to Flag in Scientology. So it was only like $1,000 to do like a 6-day course, which is pretty cheap. You know what I mean? Well, I got about 7 days out of it, and it was like probably like $1,000 or $1,100. That's pretty good. You know what I mean? And it has the same idea that Scientology has, in that you don't just do a course, you do it in your own pace. So you don't sort of move on until you've completed something, until you're ready for it. Whereas the bastardized, disgusting school system has this idea where you just go there in the course room, everyone has a certain amount of time to do a subject, and if you haven't completed that stage, you just have to skip it and go on to the next one. And it just makes people really, really dumb because they half learn all these things, and it's just crazy. But it's got that good idea. This Avatar is this good idea that Scientology has, where you work at your own pace. So I did section 1, and that's kind of like just a short. I did section 1 and section 2. I'm going to do section 3, and I'm probably not going to do any more because I'm a Scientologist and I want to do my bridge at Ron's org, and I want to do the LIH bridge and all that sort of stuff. Because I think the tech is better and there's just more to it and it's cooler. So why waste my time doing the high Avatar levels, which apparently have some similarities to OT3? Anyway, because it's just, I'm a Scio, basically. And also I saw some people who'd done Avatar, who'd done the higher levels, and it wasn't like they were amazing spiritual beings that were completely amazing, you know what I mean? Like, they've improved from Avatar, and some people look like they were more clear than others. Like, you can tell they'd sort of achieved that state of clear where you're like peaceful and all that sort of stuff. But some other people hadn't. Like, there was one guy I saw who he'd done the high level courses, and then he was going back and redoing them all again, I think from the beginning or something like that. Because these courses, it's like TRs, you can do them again, you still get benefit. And I didn't know he'd done the higher levels of Avatar, and I thought he seemed like he was new to it, because he seemed like quite anxious. Like, I could clearly see how he had case problems and stuff. And then I found out he had done the higher levels, and I was like, oh, whoa. I was like, Jesus, obviously the higher levels they're kind of like Scientology in that they don't make a perfect person, basically. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to go back and do them again, and you have to keep on working on it. And it's not the be-all and end-all. It's not like you just get someone to do OT3 and suddenly they're a magic or something like that. But here's the thing. When you're looking at someone who has a major anxiety problem or whatever, if he'd never done Avatar or never done Scientology, that person could be an absolute wreck and could have probably maybe committed suicide. I mean, how do you know, right? So the person might not look like some powerful spiritual being and might be exhibiting some anxiety problems, but you know, they could be doing really, really well and improved heaps through their avatar or their Scientology. So it doesn't mean avatar or Scientology don't work. You know what I mean? It just means that it's not like, it's not as incredibly amazing as you'd hope it would be. You know what I mean? Like, you'd love for just someone to just go up the bridge and then suddenly become like this OT that can do all these magical spiritual things and then just be perfect and just be totally clear and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes people have to go back and redo things and fix things up and reassess their life and then work through it and then also try other things, I reckon, outside of Scientology to keep on progressing themselves. Anyway, sorry, if people want to hear the review, I should have said this at the start. I recommend you to do it if you're wondering if you should do Avatar. Okay, I recommend you to do it. I think it was good, and I would say just do the first 3 sections. And then I'd stick to Scientology. It's the same as, like, when it comes to other spiritual practices. Like, I think you do them to some sort of benefit, but I don't think you can get as much out of them as Scientology, so you should become a Scientologist. You know what I mean? You should do the whole Scientology bridge, but sometimes I think you need to add some things to get other benefits to handle other areas of case. So yeah, I recommend doing it. I think it was good. So I did section 1, and that was kind of like a short 2-day course, but it was kind of like, I guess, getting you to as-is things in your life, like looking in certain areas and coming up with like life goals and plans and stuff. So it was kind of like taking someone who's off the street, who's messed up, and then just like, I don't know, reorganising them, reassessing them again to sit down and organise their life and fix themselves up. Basically like a sort of Scientology life improvement course sort of thing, like fix up that person. And you do you get a taste of some objective processes, you know, like ones where they're like, look at something close, look at something far away, look at something up, look at something down, or like, you know, objective processes, like things like that. But you only do them to sort of like to a win. So you can see how, I could see how in section 1 it was kind of introducing you to Avatar, and I could tell how you do the higher levels and then you do more deeper processes where you do them for longer and all that sort of stuff. And so that was good. It sort of keyed me out and stuff. And so then I did section 1. Then a few months later, I went back to do section 2. But before I did section 2, I did section 1 again for free, because they say that you can just come along earlier and do the section 1 again. When they come, they do their tours around the country. So they came around again, and I did section 1 again a few months later. And it was good to do section 1 again a few months later, because I feel like it was more thorough doing it again, like really covering everything. And I could also see how I'd changed since I'd done section 1 last, and I'd really improved. And so in the future, it's like, no, I don't need to do section 1 again, and I don't want to. I think it'll be a bit of a waste of time, because I feel like I've graduated that. But it was good to do it twice, and I feel like most people need to do it twice. In fact, I feel like a lot of people need to do section 1 3 times, because they're so, you know, like messed up. But because I'm pretty powerful spiritually and lots of stuff, and really done a lot of stuff to help myself, I felt like I needed to do it twice. It's kind of like in Scientology when you do a checklist and you run it through twice on a course. I don't know, it's very good when you do it that sort of way. It's really thorough. The second time through, you pick up on things you might have missed before, and you really get it. Yeah, I found section 1 was a lot of as-ising things in your life, and it was also, you can tell the course was written by a Scio, because they just think outside the box. They just don't think the way other people think. So it will be asking questions about your life that are like odd questions, like unusual ones, like, I don't know. I should have brought the Avatar book with me, actually, for this video. Anyway, so they'll ask a question that's like, what goals does your father have? How did he go in achieving those goals? And it's kind of interesting, because you're doing a personality test, right? You're doing what they call a personality test. And they're asking you about your father and like his goals and stuff. And so it's like, you know, it's a bit odd. It's got that oddness that Scientology have, where you think about things from a different viewpoint and stuff. And it was good. It was really, really good. I liked it. And then I did section 2. And By the way, I felt like Avatar was like a lighter version of Scientology. Like it didn't have the heaviness that you get when you're in the church. It was just like a more sort of lighter, casual version of like self-help courses and stuff, and obviously different. Like there was no Hubbard materials in it, but it was just like similar ideas. Yeah, so I did section 2, and section 2 was longer. It wasn't like 2 days, it was like 5 days. And it was you did some objective processes on it, and you read some data and stuff about how to make like a primary, which is a postulate. And then you got to do something that was really cool, which I think actually might be a TR, but I don't know if this TR exists. But if it doesn't exist, then LRH should have come up with it, because it's a good TR. They don't call it a TR, they just say you're just doing an exercise. But it was this thing where you say a primary, like you say a postulate, and then you're sitting next to someone, and they have to spot if there's any counter intention. They have to spot if there's any like back off on your behalf, like if you don't believe that you can make that postulate, or if you don't think you can do it, or something like that. Like they have to pick up on that. And I felt that was really good, because I'd learned about postulates, but I'd never really sat down and said, I'm just going to make a postulate, right? And every time something that comes up that says you can't do that, then I'm going to ignore that and then do it again and make the postulate again. So it was kind of like a sort of TR, but it was getting me to postulate. It was training me on postulating, and they call it primary. So it was training me on saying these primaries and doing these primaries, going primary. And like, so let's say you say a primary like, my life is happy, right? And they're sitting there, and they see you on your face, like a little sign on your face that makes you like your TRs go out, or like they can see a little sign in your face that says like, you know, I don't really believe that. And they sort of flunk you, and they're like, no, do it again, sort of thing. And so I felt that was really good, because it was, I don't know, I felt like it was a different type of TR. Like, because usually whenever I make postulates or dreams in life or whatever, I don't have someone sitting there staring at me, judging me, and usually I just say them in my head or whatever. But I write them down on a piece of paper, I'm saying a goal or something I want to do. But I don't have someone sitting there judging me, like watching me. So it really helped me to like get strong with my beliefs and my postulates, and be like, this is what I think, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what's going to happen. And it's like, I don't care what you think. I'm comfortable with saying my beliefs and stuff. It kind of got me stronger, and it handled a part of my case that was just like, that I hadn't had handled in other practices or in Scientology. It was kind of good. So after doing this drilling of saying these postulates, it was like I could say these postulates and feel like more like Neo in the Matrix, where he's like, you know, where he makes reality, you know what I mean? Like I could bend the spoon with my mind. I felt more like I can make this postulate, make it stick, and really believe it, you know? And I stopped that sort of, you have that self-doubt, like, what's it called? Demon circuit, like the self-doubt sort of demon circuit in your mind. It's like, you can't do that, or that's going to cause a problem, or, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, it's helped to get that out of my case, out of my mind, and just be like, this is what I'm saying, this is what's going to do, this is what I'm going to do. So it was good. I liked it. I got benefit from it. And the people are pretty cool, pretty chilled and stuff. It was kind of similar to Scientology, in that when they have their, when you're doing a course, there's only like really a handful of people who are new, and there's more staff, there's more volunteers there than there are people who are trying it. So like when you do like section 1 or section 2, you look around and there might be like 6 or 7 others out there who are new to it as well, yet there's like 17 avatar people who are like, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of like in the ideologue with the churches and that, in that you go to a course and there's more staff there than actually are doing it. And I think it's definitely something wrong with the church in that they don't advertise to get people into Scientology. But with Avatar, I think it's a bit similar as well, in that, like, I hadn't really heard of Avatar until I'd heard from a Scientologist who mentioned it. And I had to go finding these Avatar seminars, and I didn't see, like, much promotion saying, Avatar, try it and stuff. They just have this touring thing, and it's just, they seem to be, I don't know, they just didn't seem to be having a huge pumping Div 6 promoting what they're doing, which I think is a bit outpointy. Because I thought when they visited Melbourne, they didn't even visit Melbourne. They visited, like, Geelong, which is, like, outside of Melbourne, and it makes it harder for people to go to. And I'm just like, you know, if I was doing a touring Div 6 promoting, like, my spiritual group, I would do it, like, in the heart of the city, so that as many people in Melbourne area could come, and I would try and pump that big Section 1 course. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I'd be thinking. I'd be thinking on a larger order of magnitude, you know, trying to pump it, get a lot of people in there. But they were kind of, yeah, a bit like in the church, in that and even independent Scientology, like, it's just, these things just aren't big on Div 6. I don't know what's going on. Like, seems like everything that was funky and spiritual was popular in the 70s and people were getting into it, but nowadays it's just people aren't pumping the Div 6. I think when people get involved with these things, they become like either a Scientology instructor or an Avatar instructor or whatever, and they drop doing the Div 6 stuff. I don't know, and so they just end up staying involved with the, you know, and it was just kind of weird, because I was just looking around and I was like, hey, there's, like, heaps of helpers here in this Avatar course. There's almost too many helpers. Why aren't, like, anyway, it's just silly. But so I did the course, and I got to sort of hang out, because you share a room with other people. So I shared a room with 2 other guys, and they were new to Avatar, and they were a little bit spiritual, like, as in other practices, a little bit into other practices. But yeah, I mean, they seem to like it and get benefit from it. I mean, I think that a bit of it was going over their head. Like, I could see they needed to redo the course again, because, like, you know, they would have been reading things and had MUs and stuff, and these people don't clear, this Avatar people, you know, don't talk about misunderstood words or anything. So, you know, people who are new to it are reading it like, whoa, like, it's high-level spiritual data, and it's like, I'm like, I can read it and go, okay, like, even I read it slow, but, like, I can understand it and follow with it. I'm just thinking, if you've got someone off the street, I mean, they're going to struggle with this. They're just going to not really understand it. And it kind of made me think that, like, it kind of annoyed me, because I kind of thought, you know, hey, Harry Palmer, when you created this sort of stuff, and it's a bit the same with L. Ron Hubbard, you know, it's just like, you really need to make these things simple for the average everyday person. Like, don't take someone off the street and talk about hardcore, high-level philosophy that they're not going to understand. And don't use words that people just don't know what the hell they mean. That's the most annoying thing, is the amount of times that, like, maybe I do it on this podcast, on this YouTube channel, and I shouldn't be doing it, but, like, maybe I use these really fancy words that, like, people just don't even know what the F they mean. You know? And it's just like, just use simple everyday language that people can actually understand. Anyway, so because I saw a guy doing Avatar, and he was sitting there, and I could see how he wasn't getting quite that much out of it, and he was kind of going over his head, and he would have had MUs and stuff, and he was kind of a bit unhappy with it. But he stuck with it because he could see people getting benefit from it and stuff. But I was just thinking, yeah, I mean, I could probably create some course that's, like, inspired by Avatar or Scientology for new Div 6 people. It's really basic. It just lays down the truth and says, this is how it is, this is what's going on. Anyway, I digress. So I got benefit. I liked it. I came back from it, like, I came back as a changed man. I felt different, definitely case-wise. Oh, there was a really good exercise that you did in Section 2 that we did that was involving being like other objects. So to train you on the idea of experiencing things, like experiencing being the floor and experiencing being another person even. So that when you walk around in life, the problem is that we're sort of stuck being ourselves all the time. So let's say you get into a stressful situation and you can't handle that experience. But this process we were doing was trying to get us to be like, okay with just, okay, experience the stress then. Experience, let's say you feel shit around family members or whatever. Instead of sitting there going, oh, I've got to get away from this family member, or I've got to argue with this family member, it's like saying, no, just experience it. Just sit there and experience being there with a family member and just be cool with it and stop like ridging on it, stop fighting it and resisting it, because the resisting just makes it continue. And that was really good because this exercise, I did feel it made me more, like able to just be there in a situation and just experience it and just go, oh, well, this is an interesting experience. And it's kind of like viewing life like it's a video game or like you're watching a movie. So it's like, instead of being stuck in it, just being like, oh, I'm just a character in a video game and I'm behind the controllers and I'm just watching this. It's kind of like, I don't know, just imagine if you were playing a video game, right, and you got into an experience in the video game that was like maybe a bad experience, but you wouldn't feel it's bad because you're just like, hey, I'm just playing a video game, you know what I mean? But when it comes to real life, we get into experiences and we're like, oh, that was really bad, and it's just like, hey, that was just an experience. But like, it's just like the video game thing, because apparently literally life is like some sort of computer simulated matrix or whatever. And it's just like, you should be like an avatar, like as in you should be like this is the body, but you're not really here. You're just, controlling this. I'm just controlling this like I'm controlling a video game. I'm just basically in a video game that I've been stuck in forever. So it's just like, if you get into a bad experience, don't get all upset about it, just experience it and be like, okay. Anyway, so I got a lot of benefit from that. So, so I recommend trying Avatar if it's something you want to do, if you're looking for self-help and that sort of stuff. But I do recommend Scientology is better. But it just handled a different sort of, it was just different, and it handled more case like in a different way. It was good. So I'm going to do section 3, which is a bit more expensive, but it's a bit shorter. It's only about 3 days long. I'm going to do that in 6 months' time or something. And then I probably won't do it. I probably won't do the high levels in Avatar because they cost thousands of dollars more. And if I'm going to travel somewhere, I'd rather travel to Europe where there's Ron's org and I can do Scientology and that sort of stuff. But yeah, so I'm kind of interested. And do you know what's interesting as well? They keep their materials confidential. Like as in, you do the course, they give you the materials, but you can only use them while you're in that room, right? They do the courses in like conference rooms in hotels and stuff. You can only use it while you're in that room. And then they take it and they keep it under like lock and key or whatever, which is kind of interesting because it's like, wow, they have to like hide their materials. Like they have to, I mean, there's nothing even like secret information about aliens or anything, like, which is understandable because it, like with Scientology in high levels or something, like that stuff you should keep under a lock and key because it's just too much. But these were just like the beginning courses, and they were just like keeping it locked up, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, I think and so these Avatar people, they basically want to. They don't say they want to clear the planet, but they say they want to create an enlightened planetary civilization. So they're kind of, and they people volunteer and stuff like that, and it's kind of a cool movement, which all started with a mission in the New York area by Harry Palmer and stuff. And so it's like this whole movement of fixing up mankind and stuff, and it's got that good attitude to it that Scientology has, in that it's like, hey, let's do something about this. Let's create an enlightened planetary civilization. Let's not just sit on our ass, and let's actually get in there and start doing things. It's got a bit of a gung-ho-ness to it, but nowhere near much as Scientology. But it's got that attitude, which is very good, which I can tell how Hubbard rubbed off on Harry Palmer, if you know what I mean, and affected him and and it's that go-getter sort of attitude. Because I feel like when it comes to Christians, for example, I don't know, I just don't see them having the same attitude as like a Scientologist or Avatar, in that like they're trying to get something done. They're trying to do something about the world, where the Christians are kind of like, you know, we're cool with how things are, that sort of stuff. And I don't know, it kind of, it hasn't got that gung-ho-ness to it. You know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah, that's my Avatar review. That's all I have to say. And thanks for listening.